Maxim. That it was very, very nice and great to have this little feature and interview with us tonight. Welcome,
Hello,
Maxim.
everyone. Hello.
Uh, there are some fresher players, I think, that might not know exactly who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, okay. Um, I'm 43. I live in Russia, in Ulyanovsk city. Uh, I love playing online management games. I started playing these kind of games in 1996, so it's almost 23 years ago
Wow.
when it was when it first started with F1 Live. And later I played several different games, and finally in 2006 I think I registered GPRO and started playing it. Uh, I have a family, I have a wife, and two daughters, 9 years and 17 years. And
Oh,
yeah,
you have a teenager already.
yeah. Hi everyone. And I live. My city is not really big. It's only about 600 k population, and my profession is I work in a marketing department in a telecommunication company. So this company is one of the largest in Europe and the biggest in Russia.
Oh, very nice. I didn't know that you lived in such a small city. You know, when you always imagine everyone lives in a big city and has access to everything. I live in a not so small city, but I don't live too close to Buenos Aires. Some people assume that everyone lives in Buenos Aires when you're from Argentina.
Mhm.
So you kicked off talking about the management games you used to play. Uh, and you mentioned that you started playing 23 years ago, so you were 20 years old back then.
Correct.
Uh,
I was
wow,
at university at this time.
what did you study? Which kind of degree did you go for at uni?
Uh, I entered the university on two courses, on two faculties. The first faculty is main specialization is economics, international
Economics.
and yes, international economics, and the second one was linguistics. I studied English and
Oh,
studied also studied a lot about the United States. At that time, our courses were really tied with studying USA. We had, for example, music of the USA, culture of the USA, and so on, because our university at this time was really connected to, I think, some other university in Oklahoma in USA, and they interchanged students. It was really,
that sounds like fun.
yeah, it's we started to interchange students. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to go to USA, but I think they were trying to prepare us for to be able to work in a company, international company.
Of
So
course, in the international markets.
yeah, and to do some business with maybe some other companies from United States. So that's why we needed to study not only the language itself, but also a lot of about the country itself, a lot of subjects.
Nice. Well, you're a cultured person then.
But it was really a long time ago, so I don't remember a lot. But
Well,
it was
yes,
really
I
fun.
I also finished uni quite a few years ago. It's been almost 15 years, so I can relate to that. What about the games you used to play that were they all, you mentioned management games, but they were all racing or F1 themed, or were you playing other kind of games too?
No, I didn't play any games except for F1 management. I think the first one was F1 Live, and after that, I think I played F1 Pro, F1 Time, tried, I think, just a couple months, maybe F1 Portal and F1 RAM, but just for curiosity, but not really serious. So the last time I played serious was F1 Time, I think.
Let it rest in pieces.
Yeah, that's right. So I had a break after I stopped playing F1 Time, I think in 2003 or maybe 2004. So for a couple of years, and then in 2006 I was invited to beta test GPRO.
Oh, what about the invitation you got for the beta? Who invited you?
Talk. Do you know him? Tomas Selesius from Lithuania.
Thomas?
Tomas Selesius. Talk. His nickname.
No, I don't recall him well. There are lots of players that were not around on the side when I joined the game anymore. I joined around season 26, and I can't recall that name.
I will turn my microphone volume up as people are asking that they don't hear me really well, I think.
Oh.
Just a second. Just a moment.
This is live, guys. That kind of things happens.
Okay, I think it's better now. I hope it's better now.
Yes, it's loud and clear for me. I don't know the rest.
Sorry, guys. I just turned my volume up, and I hope you will hear me.
Let us know if everything is going well. But if it didn't work, we don't have much to do. Well, we are talking about the beta. You joined the beta. You were invited by a player that was taking part of the beta.
Yeah, my friend from Lithuania. His name is Tomas. We played together since F1 Live. I know him since 1996. So he invited me, and after that, I invited my friend Vlad Islentiev. So for some time, there were only 2 Russians in this game during beta test, and then we invited other
who
players.
Now is your teammate, by the way.
Yes.
You're playing as a teammate with him now. What about the? How was the game in terms of difficulty and in terms of setup? I got a few questions via PM, and Jan Belsk was wondering how was race preparation when you were in the beta or the first seasons of the game.
Look, first beta seasons were really funny and wild. We really didn't take it really serious. We were just having fun, testing some different stuff and trying some crazy things. But when I think even after we went live for the first season, for the first real season, I also didn't take the game too seriously. I didn't make financial plan or something. So my first season was really a disaster. I almost survived. I almost survived the elite, finished 24th or something.
So it was hard.
It was really hard because we didn't know what we were doing, we were hiring really expensive drivers and tech directors. We were spending all our money just right away. So
Yes,
by the
without a sense of budgeting yet,
yeah,
because
yeah, we didn't make budgets. Maybe some guys did, but I didn't first season. And by the race 9 or 10, I think I almost went broke. I had to downgrade my car and just stop upgrading facilities and so on. So the
but
first season was really crazy, and I'm glad I survived. And from the second season on, I think that's where I started to just scratch my head and decided that I need to do some planning, advanced planning.
some planning, yes, of course.
Mhm.
What about the car? Because now the new players start with a level 1 car at rookie, and they start building their car from there, of course, as long as they promote to the next level. Did you all start with a level 1 car?
And I may be mistaken here, but I think we started with level 4 cars.
Oh,
I think there were 4 tiers in this group. We didn't have pro group. We had elite, master, amateur, and rookie. I think rookies started with level 1, amateurs started with level 2, masters started with level 3, and elite started with level 4. At
oh,
least that's how I remember.
yes, yes, they set a starting point because the game was totally new. And what about the drivers? Because now the drivers that are fed to the market need some previous training, having had previous owners, and you can grab a very high OA driver as long as if it has been trained by someone else. But what about then that you didn't have anyone training your drivers? What kind of driver did you have available on the market?
I think when the game started, season 1, we all had untrained drivers on the market. I think overall levels weren't as high as maybe 150, 140. I don't remember that we had like over 200 overall drivers right away. So what I remember, they were mostly unexperienced drivers. Also, I think they were really aggressive at some point. And then drivers started to be balanced. I think people started to test
Of
different
course.
drivers and decide which drivers are fast and which drivers are not. And that's, I think, maybe in 3 or 4 seasons it was balanced and the salary went down. The most difference was with salary, because all drivers which
Had
entered the
very
market had really high salaries.
salaries, yes. Well,
I
it's
think
more or
maybe
less
two,
what
three,
happens
four, four
now.
million. Yeah, but we had to really wait several seasons until really good drivers' salaries dropped down, and you could just hire a driver, a young driver, and to develop it, and it would not be really expensive for you. But for the first couple seasons, I think everyone had really expensive drivers. I think maybe over 2 or 3 millions for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyone can go broke right now with that kind of salary.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially now that we have energy. But there was a time I recall I was there that we had the super TVs. They were really experienced, and we ended up paying the last very good TVs like 3 million. I do recall having paid myself 3 million for a TV. So, but well, the kind of income you could get from sponsors were different from what we have now.
Yeah, many things were different, but I think what was the most different from what we have now is the lack of knowledge. That
Lack
was
of
the crucial.
knowledge, of course.
Yeah,
The learning curve was at the lowest point.
Yeah, it was a crucial point when you could really organize a team, and if you could just start analyzing and collecting and analyzing data, trying to develop some dependencies and see which is best for the driver stats, which stats are influence over which parameters, and so on.
Uh, um,
Uh,
um, Among the questions that Jan sent, he asked how race preparation was and what about tools? Did you start developing tools right away? What kind of things did you find out first, and what did you spend some more time investigating and you had to guess at first?
Uh, so I quit playing after season 9. So basically, I had only 9 seasons playing before I returned. Uh, so 9 seasons is really, if you think now, 9 seasons is not really a big
A big
amount of time.
experience, yes.
Yeah, but
So basically, you have not found out much back
well,
then.
but when it all started, I think we collected a lot of that data, and 9 seasons were really enough amount to gather maybe most important data about difference. For example, I remember I started using Microsoft Excel right away. I'm not a programmer, so I didn't make up any tools to use right away. So uh, I used Excel. I saved all data, and at first we discovered, of course, difference between tire compounds. Uh,
You had
we
only one brand back then, only one brand.
Yeah, one brand, but you needed to find a difference between extra soft, medium, and hard, and so on.
Okay.
So of course, it was a good idea to start a team. We started working with 10 people, and then we were trying to test different drivers and try to see which driver starts are more important. Also, we were did driver trainings and compared the net practice time before and after training, just to trying to see if which training has some effect on the driver speed. I think these were the most easiest discoveries for
Yes,
us.
the ones that are more obvious, of course. What about you? You are saying that we, but there's no log in the game of you joining a team before your comeback. Who
No,
were
no,
you
no,
teaming you back
no.
then?
I started my own team, and me and Vlad, we gathered some other, I think, Russians and maybe also Ukrainians, and this team is still exists in the game. It's called Maximum Overdrive. If you see my history after rejoining in season 43, I joined this team. I rejoined this team at first,
Yes.
and only in a couple seasons I switched to Whiskies.
Yes,
But
but there was no log of you being in the team before your return. That's why
that
I ask. You
that
were
means
already organized into teams.
yeah, that means that the game doesn't keep track
Yes, I know
of
there are
this.
lots of
I, wa-
things that
I,
there's no
I,
log, but happened.
I was in this team, and there were 10 players. I think we stayed together almost with the same people. But if I remember correctly, maybe only 4 or 5 people were really actively trying to
Discussing, yes.
analyze the data and to find some dependencies and formulas. Other people were not so active, but they also provided valuable data. They posted all they
Yes,
had. And
you needed the data sets.
yeah, yeah. So I think when I quit playing and after season 9, I still had all data in Excel sheet, and it was, I think it was quite precise, but most formulas were not discovered by that time. I found out that the biggest discoveries were made, I think, between season 10 and season 40. I think in this maybe even between season 10 and season 30. So when I returned, I found out that there are really much more precise formulas, and even some tools are already being used in this game.
Yes,
It,
when you came back after season 40,
43, yeah,
43,
6 years, 6 years passed,
that's a
and
lot.
yeah, and mostly it was because really lots of people have joined the game during these years, and they also started to form teams. There are many smart people. I mean, maybe even not only in Russian teams, but in teams from other countries. And I think everyone
Yes, of
was
course.
really hard
There,
in discovering formulas, and that's why I think in maybe it happened even earlier, not after 6 years of my absence. Maybe it happened even after 2 or 3 years.
well, we can say others did the hard work for you.
And after I rejoined, I rejoined my old team, but frankly, Vlad Islentiev was in Whiskies, and I somehow I didn't find lots of communication with my old team, and there were not many people who remained from the early seasons still.
Yes,
So
6 years in real life is a lot.
yeah, and I was called to Whiskey by Vlad and also by Leandro, and they really were eager to get me into the team, and I decided to switch teams because I felt that I would be really more comfortable in
Only
Whiskies.
only Dino can understand another Dino, I guess.
Hmm.
What about the way the groups were set? Because you joined in the beta, fourth season of beta.
Yeah, correct.
How was it decided? How was it decided who was going to join rookie, amateur, master, and elite?
By the time we were ready to start with our first real season, I think there were about 1,000 people actively playing,
Oh,
and so and so
that's a big number.
yeah, it was enough, I think, for one elite and three or master groups and several amateur groups and maybe some rookies. I think it was decided by the player's ID. So those who joined the game earlier and had lower IDs,
Yes,
uh,
first come, first serve.
first come, first served, but except for those who were already inactive by that time. So inactive players were not count, only active players who were active during the last beta season. So my ID was 43rd, I think, and we had 40 people in elite, but I think maybe 5 or 10 people were already
We're not
inactive.
playing anymore. Yes.
Yeah, so we had maybe up to 60th ID in elite, and other guys were placed in corresponding tiers in master and amateurs according to their registration date, I think.
I see. Well, we now have more or less an idea how things were those first 8 seasons you were playing, but why did you retire?
Uh,
We want to
uh,
know the truth. Don't say anything to yourself.
hi, hi, people. I want to say hello to everyone who joined. I see your messages. Unfortunately, I cannot type because I didn't log
But you
into
can
my YouTube.
reply. You
Yeah.
can reply.
Hello, Constantine. Hello, Rodriguez. Hello, Brazil. Hello, everyone. Uh, so about my retirement, it was really there were two main reasons for my retirement. First reason was I switched my jobs and started.
Oh,
I started. I got. I was promoted to another job. I got really high position, really important position with than
more responsibility.
300 people beneath me. So I really found myself really busy with my work, and
Yes, of
I was
course.
really tired, and I went up early in the morning and really worked about 12 or 14 hours a day. And I thought that maybe it would be a good idea to take a break. And the second reason is more controversial. It's I could say
That's what we want to know.
yeah, it's like an emotional thing. I think it was rage quitting partially because
It says flip.
yeah, because I was pretty confident with my setup, and I was constantly achieving in the I was performing this game very well. I won I think 7 and 8 season, and
That's right.
yeah, and then we were really hard battle with Vlad, and I lost season 9, I think, and uh,
But you quit before it ended.
yeah. Uh, the what I didn't like is because I won I think 12 races in the season, but I had two randoms, and Vlad was usually finishing second and didn't have any randoms, and that's why
You felt that the randoms decided the season.
yeah. So no matter how hard I try, no matter how many wins I had, the game decided just to inflict a couple randoms on me, and
The
so I
game
lost.
decided, controversial.
Yeah, uh, but actually,
Did
if
you
I
did you feel targeted?
what? Sorry.
Did you feel
No, no,
targeted
no,
by the?
no, no.
Did you feel it was personal?
Mm, I think when you're in such situation, most people would think that, yeah, that's right, they are
The game is
targeting me.
against me.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, Vlad decided just to punish me. He wanted to just slow me down and
He
just
aimed at
not do.
me and shot me with a
Yeah,
random.
yeah. But I understand that it was just the fact that I got a new job and was really hard working. It
You were
helped. It
under big stress.
yeah, it pressured me and it helped me to make a decision. I didn't really want to continue. I understood that, okay, random is only random. I can just continue playing, and I think I had my driver really prepared for a couple more seasons, couple more strong seasons. Maybe I even have a good chance to win another title, maybe in season
In
11 or 12
a few seasons later, yes.
if I continued, but I already had two titles, and so I decided just to take a break to concentrate on my new
On
job.
your show.
Yeah, and I just maybe posted a couple aggressive things in the forum about that. So yeah, thank you for those randoms. That's time for me to quit. Also, yeah.
Profanity, profanity.
Yeah, so but I think it was okay. It was okay. I think I just was overexcited or just too raging too much about it. It just helped me. I think if it
It
if
was a quick death.
yeah, it helped me to make my decision just to quit. I knew I would probably return someday. uh, Actually, we should talk about it also. Why I returned and
Yes.
who
Everyone
played the
wants to
role.
know why you return.
Yeah, okay. During those 6 years when I was away from the game, Vladimir Islentiev really often asked me if I
To come
wanted
back.
to come back. Yeah, so it was maybe once every several months or so. He said that the game was developing really really nice. I was informed about changes in the game. I was informed about
You were
new
missing the fun.
tires. Yeah, but at that point, I really I didn't feel that it was time to return, and uh, so. But then in 2014, I also was I got invitation from Stefan Vogenreitner.
From Friday,
So
yes.
yeah, that as it turns later, he told me that he pressed welcome link accidentally. He was scrolling through friendlies and accidentally pressed invite Maxim back to the game.
I don't buy that. I don't.
That's what he told me. Uh, and
Yes, it was
when
an
I
accident.
probably
Come on.
uh,
I don't
so
buy that.
yes, I saw his invitation. I actually kept the contact with him for a while, and I asked him what should I do, and he said that come on, it's time to come back. We really want to see you back. The game has developed, and it's much more fun now. And I thought, why not? Why not try it again? And it was really much better and much more comfortable situation at my work. So I felt that like I could just try to join.
So well,
It was in September 2014, so already 30 seasons back.
yes, it's been a while. It's been a while. But
So
did
uh,
you feel that you missed a lot? Because by the time you came back, there were lots of veteran players with lots of experience, and you were practically newbie because most of the features that the game had back at that time had been developed long ago. Uh,
yeah, when I returned.
what was the main difference? What was the first thing you noticed between the the game development back at season 9 and season 43? What was the most shocking thing?
First of all, I felt like a newborn child when I returned. Of course, I remembered some basic things. I knew that there are different tire compounds and driver have different stats and so on. But really,
The,
all the dependencies, which affects what, and how to deal with sponsors, and how to answer them, and what to do with the I don't know how to read the weather forecast and so on. It was almost forgotten during those 6 years of my absence, and I started asking really many questions to my teammates, and thanks to
they
them
had to
who
raise you.
yeah they I should mention that my teammates from Maximum Overdrive really helped me a lot. They helped me to recall, to remember all the stuff, and uh,
To learn the new stuff.
yeah, and they answered all my questions and helped me to get back to the game as fast as possible. Also, they did advise me to not to rush with promotions, to not
But you
promote.
didn't listen, right?
I didn't. I really didn't listen. I promoted, I think, every second season from amateur to pro and so on. And I happened when I reached master, I was unprepared. My facility staff level was too low.
And I
Uh,
guess your CCPs were not very developed either.
yeah, it was like I relegated immediately. I couldn't just get a grip in master tier, and I relegated, and then I decided to take it really slower. But I think it still happens to all of us. If you see how managers, besides those maybe 10, 15 people who are really set in elite, other guys really float back and forth. They relegate to amateur, build up, and then go back to master or elite, stay there as long as possible, and then relegate again. I think this process, if you see what happens to people, they constantly floating back and forth.
Yes, but there's people that maybe do it because they want to build a particular driver, and there's people that do it because they need to go back to learn something that they miss at the lower tiers. We have very experienced players that could, for of course, retain the higher leagues with no difficulty, but they still go down the way to amateur.
But experienced
I, I,
people, I
I do
think.
I do recall the one of the first people to do this was Rimantas Agas.
Hmm.
He was one of the first veterans. He already had his championships, and he was one of the first to relegate all the way to amateur and try something different.
Yes, I remember that too. I even asked him what he was doing, and he also, I think, gave me some feedback. And I saw that he took a really, really young and
Driver.
untrained driver, yeah, right from master and relegated to amateur, and then did really had a successful comeback to elite and even stayed there, I think, for a few seasons. And I also
Yes,
did that.
I think that he was hit by energy at a point.
Probably, yeah. Uh, I also did that, and I can assure you that relegating to amateur is the easiest way to rebuild, to start stack sponsors and money.
Let,
Maybe I
let's
will
say
try.
let's say
Uh,
that it has little to no difficulty for a player like you.
yeah,
Come on.
maybe I will do this really soon because the current season is really hard for me, and I'm not still
Yes,
sure that.
I don't think you have much money at this point.
Yeah. I took a new driver, and I just need to retain this season to build up. If I'm able to score some more points, I will stay. But if not, I will relegate and try to rebuild.
I'm picking you driver.
Yeah.
I see, but from all the new features that were introduced and all the changes, what was the more challenging? What was the one you liked the most? What
Mm.
about tires? Tire brands?
Mm.
What
The most challenging. I don't know what was the most challenging. I think it's still the most challenging part is to make a correct decision about picking the right tires for the season, and also
and these cross
uh,
tires for eliters. So
yeah, and also maybe it would sound like not really understandable, maybe, or not really clear, but long term planning also for me is the most challenging part. I think it's not enough now to plan only for one season ahead. Maybe it was enough early in the game, but at
at
this point,
season 8.
yeah, at this point of the game, you really need to plan several seasons ahead, and also be lucky with picking the right tires and not go broke and not be hit badly with the wrong weather. And this is the crucial part, to be able to come to elite at the best possible moment with the best car, test points, sponsor stacking, driver trained at the most possible point. So you are really competitive in elite right away after promotion. If you hurry, if you go too early, or you just bring unprepared driver, or maybe not enough money, or just lose sponsor negotiation, you can stay a couple seasons in the lead, but it would not be enough to stay there for really long. So that's the most challenging part. And what I liked the most from the latest additions to the game, I think it's limitation on sponsors depending on your facility level. It was really good. It really
That's very recent change.
yeah, it's balance. I think it balanced a little bit the game regarding the sponsor stacking, and also I could say that maybe energy was a really good thing, and also I also think that PHA matching is a really nice idea. Also, although I'm not really sure if I consider it really balanced or not, maybe it's still not really balanced, or maybe it's still a little bit too much effect on the speed, but it's still, I think it's a nice addition which gives us more possibilities
Well,
to do some different strategies throughout the season.
in my opinion, all changes seem to be overpowered at the beginning, and then things tend to balance themselves as seasons go by. I do recall energy introduction. It was introduced in a season I was pushing to promote from master to elite, and it was a killer. It was a killer. It had a driver that was very inefficient in energy terms. I struggled to train it, and I was in a promotion plan because some of my teammates were retired and they wanted to have a special last season. So regardless of what the situation was, I was going to push for the promotion to get the team points. And it was really harsh. I remember that most of us set the 100 CT during race one that season, and we all ran out of energy very early in the race. But as we all made the same mistake, it was hilarious, you know. It was really, really hilarious. But it gave the impression that things were really unbalanced. But then as season went by, I think the people that were trying crazy things like I don't know, not training a driver and using max risk every race or 100% energy every race, stop doing that and try to come with a new plan. And then the ones that were trying to develop drivers and not overspending finally could find their way.
Yeah, I agree that energy thing could surprise many players at first, but at least what I like about it is that it is completely under control of the player. You really know which driver you have. You really
No randomness.
yeah, you really set up your risks for the race yourself, and you are responsible for the result. Which what I really still really hate about the game, if we are talking about the things I don't like, is the weather and tires system. Randomness of the weather for the whole season, and also big effect and influence of tires performance depending on the weather.
Yes,
I think it's like a lottery for us. So, for example,
lotto race.
for example, in season 57, I think when I relegated from elite to master, I picked Contis, and the season was really cold. It was really one of the coldest seasons ever, and it really humiliated my season. I really went broke completely because of that. And also, for example, if you are lucky with your tire selection and you pick tires and the weather really favors you throughout the season, you will be really getting really good benefits from that. That's what I really don't like about the game, because you cannot control your weather, the weather forecast for the season, and you will be punished by the incorrect weather, or you will need to just plan your. You cannot plan your season in advance. You don't know what weather will be in 2 races. You only know the forecast for the next race. So that's why you cannot decide the strategy for if the weather will be bad for your tires. You won't be able to score points, for example, if you are not strong enough, and so on. That's what I don't like about the game. At least I would be glad if the influence of weather, of temperature especially, would be lower on tires performance.
Yes, I'm going back to the tires and weather matter in a short while. But first, I wanted to show here there's the link to join the streaming. Now that we are already into the chat and I have asked quite a few questions, I think that there might be some things I'm not asking and other people want to know about. So they are all invited to join the streaming to ask the question they have themselves. And of course, to have a chat with us and see where the chat takes us.
Okay. Hello, Brad. Hello, Mikey.
I have posted the link at the forum topic. It's a direct link, so if you click on it, you'll end up here at the streaming interface. And I have also posted at the YouTube chat. It's also clickable, of course. So everyone is welcome to join now. Well, let's go back to the tires matter. One could discuss that it makes, of course, it does make the planning harder. There's, of course, a random factor in some way because weather is random. But it also makes it challenging because you need to find a way to make your tire choice work or to refine your tire choice. I mean that if you are in a weak position and you choose a certain tire, then you have to foresee that it might go south. So let me disagree with you, Max. I think you wanted it too easy.
No, not too easy. I mean, I would like to have it more player controlled. The game already has lots of things which are controlled by the player, and so the best player who controls these aspects of the game wins. And I think the weather forecast.
But if you control everything, you never get the challenge to overcome adversity.
We still cannot control.
One more thing: how do you keep the Roland puzzles and the Leandro Serenos of the game if you don't increase the difficulty of the game? And you have this kind of challenge exactly because you get a guy winning too many caps in a row, and then he'll be gone. The game is over. I think it's a game over feature if you control absolutely everything.
I think if you see what happened with the winning titles in Elite last season, when you mentioned Roland and Leandro, the top tires where they were picked to win their titles were really not really dependent on the weather. I think they would win on almost all tires they could pick. When you are really strong in Elite, usually the title is not decided pretty much about the tire. You either have enough money for the best possible tire or you just don't participate in the title fight. That's all. What I was talking about the tires was about the lower divisions, I think, about Master Pro and so on. It means that if you are preparing your promotion season, you should either overspend and pick the universal expensive tire, which would help you be fast regardless of the weather, or you just if you don't have enough money for that, you should take a risk and pick some tires.
What's wrong about that?
No, nothing is wrong. Of course, nothing is wrong, but it's
challenging. I mean, right now, for example, this season and maybe the previous season, we are seeing lots of bad years at Master. That's challenging. You either overpay for tires or try to manage with a cheaper tire. It's challenging.
Yeah, of course, I understand, but those guys who picked bad years, for example, if the season is really hot, they would not be only overpaying for tires for its price. they would be under they would be not earning enough money because the weather
So,
would play against them.
so after the changes that were introduced to barriers lately, you still see them as a one big push tire?
No, I think it's universal tire, but what I was talking about is that the player cannot control the weather during the season. So if you really have strong package and you decided to promote and pick bad years, but the weather would be really hot, you would be losing and you would be finishing maybe outside top 10 and would not be earning enough money, and so you will go to elite less prepared with less money and so on.
Well,
I don't.
I do agree with that. That if the weather is not beneficial to the tire pick, you might earn less money, you might score less points, and the final positions would be more even. But I don't think it would decide if you promote or not.
Yeah, okay. I'm not telling that I completely want to remove tires from the game or something. What I was talking about is that temperature has really high impact on on tires performance, and so because it's not player controlled, uh, your financial outcome of the season is dependent. For example, on 50% on your decisions and your planning, and other 50% is simply dependent on the weather forecast for this season. If your tires suit well, you would earn a lot more, and your season would be more efficient. That's what I was thinking.
Efficient,
What I was talking.
and let's not talk about the sponsor progress.
Of course, it's about not about
That
net
can be
earning, it
really harsh
also
if
about.
you are not constantly performing well. That can be get really hard.
Yes,
But
that's what I implied.
I've noticed. Well, I think many people have noticed. We have an interruption.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
It's already 12 p.m. and I should stop screaming
Okay.
loud.
Okay. Well, I don't know if anyone wants to join right now. I have opened the. I have posted the link a few minutes ago, like 15 minutes ago. Yes,
Mhm.
no, 11 minutes ago, but I have not seen anyone joining. I'm checking here the streaming interface, and there are no other players joining.
Mhm.
So if you leave, I have to finish the streaming here.
No, I will not leave. Just I will try to speak more quietly.
Okay. I thought you
Unfortunately,
were. I
no,
thought
I
you
was.
were leaving,
I
which is
forgot.
understandable, of course.
No. I forgot. I forgot what time is it, and I forgot that my family was already
Yes,
sleeping.
that you started feeling more comfortable and started raising your voice without noticing, I think.
Yes, that's what happened. I was trying to speak louder.
No, I have no problem. I hear you perfectly fine. I don't know if the people watching via YouTube have any problem with the volume.
Maybe we could ask people to
I
ask
have
some
to
questions in
I
the
have
chat.
interrupt I have to interrupt the streaming for a little bit because I have some technical difficulties here at home. I'll be back in a minute or two.
Okay.
I'm back. You know what the problem was. My cat jumped on the computer, and she was too close to the plug-in button. So I had to take care out of the room.
So maybe we can ask if anybody has any questions and post them in the YouTube chat. We could read them and answer.
Yes, that would be interesting. I honestly wasn't following the chat too much because as I am alone tonight, I had to keep the conversation going, so I couldn't be paying attention to the YouTube chat. But YouTube chat or the GPRO forum, you are invited to post any questions you have. I'm going to check my mailbox now because I see I have an open PM and want to see if we have some questions there. I think that I have covered, but we have covered everything that Jan wanted to know. That was the one person that had sent some questions in advance. Let's see. I don't see any questions on the topic.
Let's discuss GPRO meeting. What do you think if we could organize a meeting somewhere? What are your ideas about it?
There was an attempt to organize a GPRO meeting at the USA. I think it was last year or the previous one. I understand they have some trouble because of course the country is too big and they couldn't agree on where.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that some guys have a better chance to organize it, especially if they are in the central area of Europe, where other people have access to get from other countries. But that reminds me that the Tiger guys had a meeting recently. They were 3 or 4 of the Tiger Racing players that met because I think it was Jose who traveled from Brazil. So they took the chance that he was flying for a different continent to meet. And that reminds me that I found curious that you have a tiger on your T-shirt, but you are at Whiskey and Cigars. They are your classic tigers. How come?
That's a really funny thing. Yeah, indeed, I have a tiger on my T-shirt, and I did that unintentionally. Really, I just
Unintentionally, come on.
yeah, indeed, I noticed that there is a tiger on my T-shirt just a few minutes before our streaming. But it's a symbolic thing, I think, because I respect this team a lot, and if you see how close they are in our team competition overall points, I think if things go by like this, they have a really nice chance to catch up on us and take the lead on overall points. So I could say that it's my tribute to this great team. Hello, yeah, hello, Rimantas, and good luck. If you go beat us overall, I truly just would be respectful for that, and but I hope that won't happen in the nearest future.
In the near future.
Yeah, there's. Excuse me. There's a question in the chat.
Well, first we start with this one. Check the screen. I have highlighted just the question because it's related to what we are discussing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I heard. I saw that people discussed that our team were underachieving lately. I think it's because really people in our team are really old school and we're not really motivated to maybe push hard. And I
You
think
are relaxed.
at some point we started to play for fun, to not really think about how much point we earn and if
How
we
competitive you
yeah
are.
yeah. But when also it was because during the past 10 seasons or so we had really some changes in our team. Many people were coming and going, and we couldn't settle our team with constant 10 people, but we planned to fight for the title sooner or later. Also had planned for some, I think, previous one of previous seasons. Now I can tell that we are still playing quite relaxed game. We try to push as hard as possible, but maybe we will plan our fight for the title in some upcoming seasons.
But do you think you are going to agree on it and do a coordinated push?
Yes, I hope so.
Oh,
Uh,
so you have that in the plans? No,
yeah,
you don't have a date yet, but you
yeah,
like the idea.
yeah. We sometimes we try to see in advance on maybe 2 or 3 seasons in advance and decide if one of these seasons would be nice and suitable for most people to push for promotion and to score as much possible and as much points as possible. Maybe we will rethink and try to decide about some nearest seasons.
Oh,
So,
okay. So we have news for you. They are not dead.
mhm.
Whiskey
Okay,
Cigars is not dead, people.
of course, of course. We have a new members in our team, and by the way, if you noticed, we recently invited one of the creators in our game, in our team, the person who created the first ever online management game, Formula One
Yes.
management game. Yeah, when I was
Yes.
in when I was in Germany in August this year, I met some friends, Stefan Vogenreitner and some other German friends, and we also went to
Oh,
Berlin.
you had a little meeting there.
Yeah,
We call that a GPRO meeting, I think.
mm,
Not
may,
exactly.
yes, we had a meeting and we went to Berlin to meet Harry, who is creator of the first game, and later he agreed to try this game and join our team.
I think that Stefan again accidentally pushed the invitation button.
Mm. No, it was me who invited him.
Did
It
you
was
push it accidentally?
no. I explained about this game and I said that he should really try it. And
That's very nice.
because because he is a good programmer, I think he will be a really nice addition to our team. As soon as he gets acquainted with the game, maybe I hope he would help us to do some more developing.
Development, yes. Well, I guess that you guys are you currently a little behind some new features in
Probably.
terms of tool development? I mean,
Yeah, probably we still have some more. We know already what we should add. We just need to more time and people who could do some more programming and to update our everything for the game. So let's move to another question. Okay. Uh,
well, there's a question from
Roll,
Roland.
yeah.
Shakov.
Hi, Roland. Personally, I think surviving in master is really harder than surviving in pro. Because mainly because people who are in master are either those who relegated from elite and had really prepared their relegation and they came with a really nice driver ready for master. Also, those who relegated from elite sometimes really are not broke. They have still really good package and they could just relegate and start pushing right away. And in Pro, you have a mixture of people who relegated further from Master, and also those who just fresh promoters from Amateur.
From
And
amateur, yes.
yeah, and those who promoting from Amateur usually, of course, they have maybe a good financial package, sponsor package, but regarding the experience, maybe they are not really experienced. That's why for me, I felt like staying in Pro was easier, even though in Pro you would have less income
Inca.
compared
Yes, well,
to Master. But still,
that,
it was easier to maintain a good pace and stay in top 10 and scoring points and developing driver and so on. That's my
a,
feeling.
a reminder that I have already posted the link to join the streaming, so you can ask your questions here on the screen to Max. But yes, I generally agree. There's lots of people that argue that the income at master is better, and maybe the expenses are more or less the same, hence making master a more profitable division. But I do notice now that I have relegated, because I stayed for a long time between master elite. But now that I did the way down and back up, I do see the difference in the in player experience, mainly as you mentioned.
Hmm.
The bunch that is at master and has been at master in the last seasons are really way more experienced players. And of course that makes it harder, because they know where to look when they look for driver. They know how to develop a car, how to develop their sponsors, and that makes the competition more even.
Hmm. I agree. So my plans, Mato Nikic asks what are my plans when I am going to Elite again. As it turns out now, my current season could easily end up being a relegation season because I still need some more points, but I still have some favorite tracks in the end of this season. But
Also, we are speculating with favorite tracks then.
yeah, if I manage to stay in Master, I plan to continue developing my driver for 2 more seasons and maybe try to push for promotion in season 75.
So
Other
you
other
think you have a elite material there?
Yeah, yeah. And otherwise, if I relegate, unfortunately, I will have to maybe start rebuilding and trying to maybe even I decide to relegate back to amateur and considerably rebuild my sponsor stacks and try to push maybe in 4 or 6 seasons later. So that everything will be decided by the my
by,
results in
by
last
the end of this
three
season?
three races of this season. Yeah, and also we have a question about from Brad. So I started in season
I
one, then
think he
retired.
missed the beginning of the streaming, because you explained a lot about your retirement. But if you want to make a brief comment on it, go ahead.
I'll just repeat in a couple words. The break was so long because I really didn't want to return to playing at first, and also had a hard job, so I didn't feel that I will have enough free time to play. And also uh, back in 2014, I decided that it's time to return because they were not so hard work at that moment, and I got an invitation from different people. They were asking me to return, and so I decided to return.
Yes, the accidental email from Stefan. was one of them. But I understand that that is Lentiev. Don't confuse him with Vlad Alexandrov. Vladis
Hello.
Lentiev was insisting quite a bit all along the many years you were retired. Well, I have to say we do once in a while send an email invitation to Jan Pavlicek to see if he wants to check. We still have him at the team chat at Skype, and every time he pops up once, twice a year. He says, "I do not regret retiring." He said he retired at the right time when energy was introduced, so he didn't need to stress about energy.
Yeah, we also had some teammates to retire from the game when the energy was introduced. I remember that Dmitry Natho from Ukraine was on our team, and he had really successful preparation for elite, and I think he had brilliant driver and really good package. But just when he promoted, the energy was introduced, and he, I think, couldn't use this at full benefit for him. I think it struck him really hard and somehow, and he decided to quit the game because he didn't want to try a second shot, try to rebuild and spend
He
two
didn't have
two
enough
more years
motivation to do it all over again. I
Yeah,
understand. Yes,
that's right.
motivation is very important. It's not all about skill. You know, we have quite a few skilled players on the site, and motivation or dedication cannot always be the same. Well,
Guys,
that
about my voice, I'm sorry that my voice is so soothing, as you say, because it's midnight in my city and my family is already sleeping, so I cannot really speak out loud. Otherwise, my wife will kill me.
he better divorce people if he speaks louder.
Yeah.
Let's try to that Max keeps his marriage fine.
Um,
Ken is suggesting that we have a dance here. I don't think so. We could do that, but with a pay-per-view feature. You know, we can dance, but we need to charge you for the dance. Well, that you were commenting, Max, reminds me of there were a few changes that were introduced that sort of were game changers in some way and ruined people's plans, long-term plans. For example, I was very fresh on the site, but I do recall the discussions on the forums, and of course I could read a bit back those discussions. And the Reskoskis, they were a couple. They were playing the game, and they both were training drivers and were attempting to win elite championships. They both were champions before. And when they fixed the driver experience bug, we can discuss if it was a bug or a feature. You were not around at that point, so you might not know what I'm talking about. But when I was very fresh, it was before season 30. I can't recall if it was 27, 28, 29, around that time. At that point, all drivers, of course, can go past the 250 experience points. And back then, those experience points had an impact on the pace. Now, the pace is capped at 250. The effect of the experience, for better or worse, is capped at 250.
or even as I heard, there's a decreasing curve after 250.
That's Poby. Let people find out where's the peak of the performance for experience. But yes, in fact, there's at some point there's a peak for performance, and it was capped at that moment. That was in the late 20s, late season 20s. I don't remember exactly how. I do recall that the first season after the experience was capped, we had at least 2 master promoters winning races at elite on the first season, which was very unlikely before, because if you brought a driver trained from master, you had no way to compete with drivers that were past 300 points of experience back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a game changer back then, and there were people that also did a desk flip as you did, or that, like the teammates did when energy was introduced.
Yeah, I heard about this, but I didn't participate in the game at that time. So that's now a history. I
Very
cannot
well.
really
We
comment
have
about that.
no. Well, I was trying to comment because I think that's comparable with the impact the change had on the game when it was introduced. I think both energy and this experience gap had a big impact on the game.
Yes, I think it was a good
To level
implementation.
things a bit.
Yes, to prevent someone to have a driver for really long time and to be unbeatable. I think it
Exactly.
would. Yeah.
Exactly, because it has always been hard being a first timer to promote from master to elite and be competitive right away. It has always been hard. But before these fixes or these big changes, things were even more unfair or uneven than they are now. I think that things are pretty balanced at this point. There are people that still complain about the PHA impact change that was introduced while Shuka was administrator.
I can comment on this.
Yes, you were here.
I really like when a game is stable for many seasons. So, for example, even if this PHA thing is pretty unbalanced at some point, but the best thing that Vlad could do is to leave it and to not touch it for a long time, and that he let players to adapt, to investigate, to analyze, and to find all the dependencies and to discover everything. The worst thing that he could do is to constantly change this thing. So it would be really hard to adapt. So I would be really glad if the game would stay in this state for several seasons. I mean about this the current features. It
Yes,
is
but
good for experienced players who is able to collect data and to analyze.
to analyze and to have a different challenge. But it is true that if you change things too often, there's no way to plan, and
That's right.
that's not good either. We have a comment here. Uh, Madon Nikic is asking, why do you think, or why do you consider it's not possible to stay in elite and work on the progress? Why is it so hard to develop directly from elite, or retaining elite for many seasons in a row? What do you think?
Because there are only 10, maybe 12 good spots in elite, which help you be competitive with sponsor progress and good financial income flow. If you are outside of top 12, you start to gradually lose your pace, lose your ground under your feet, and you won't be able to come back.
Losing driver motivation and having
Driver motivation, yeah, you lose one sponsor negotiation, that's a yellow light for you. And if you lose a second sponsor negotiation, that's a red light for you, and you're goodbye from elite. Yeah. That's why if you ever my advice to newcomers, if you ever promote to elite and you think that you need to spread your package finance and so on for several seasons, to not push right away and just to stay in elite, to look out and to push maybe second or third season. That's wrong. I would advise, if you promote to elite, then gather all your gunpowder you have in your gun and just push as hard as possible from the very first season. Try to get the best possible driver and try to invest as much money as you have in facilities, in train and pit stops. Yeah, and try not to lose a single sponsorship battle, and try to finish as high as possible right from the start. And
that's easier said than done.
yeah. That was my mistake when I last promoted to elite. I thought that I would have gunpowder for 3 or 4 successful consecutive seasons, and that I underperformed a bit at my first 2 seasons and lost a couple important negotiations, sponsors.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was in lack of money, and that was start of the downfall.
But let me tell that that's not new. That has always been the point. What varies between the, I don't know, 10, 20 seasons apart is the kind of field you have around on the tire choice. Because this point you are talking about of being around the top 12 and trying to retain the sponsor progress and such has always been the same way. You have, in order to be strong, you more or less always had to be around that point. But there were seasons where the tire choice were absolutely insane, and you had to pick niches or bridges in order to have a chance to stay afloat. And for that, of course, you had to come with a matching sponsor income. And there are seasons like this one where the tire choices are not so crazy. We have now, of course, the changes that were introduced to various performance that made it a very good choice for the retainers, the elite retainers, and then a person that has just promoted from master to elite doesn't need to worry about cashing, I don't know, 6 million sponsorship raise in order to pay for the very premium tires.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the way I see it. I have experienced some seasons at elite where you had to spend over 5 million to race in tires, and that's really unhealthy for the promoters.
I think I agree. I think 5 millions per race is the minimum in sponsorship income to be able to compete in elite. That's from my experience.
Yeah, well, but in order to pay for the premium tires, I mean.
Yeah, that's right. And imagine what happened in season 7 or season 8 when I was winning my titles. When we had a basic tire, we didn't have to pay for tires at all, and I managed to win almost. I don't know, 95, 97% of all my sponsor negotiation. I don't remember if maybe I lost one in 5 seasons or so, and I was able to to gain 11.5 million sponsorship per race.
How
and
many?
without
How much?
11.5.
Wow.
Yeah, from 5 sponsors. It was
Dear
insane.
Lord.
Yeah, it was a lot, and we didn't have tires to pay, and
Yes, now the of course the tire expenditure balances that a bit.
yeah, and we didn't have facilities deterioration. We didn't have we had all facilities at I think at 100, and I could afford lots of test points, and I think
you had to pay maintenance for the facilities, but you didn't have deterioration.
yeah, it was no problem. I had never had a problem with money. When you have over 10 millions per race, it's really easy to to do everything.
Well, this I think that you cannot miss that. That's a complete lack of challenge. Come on, that's
Yeah,
not good. That's not healthy either.
yeah, five sponsors, 11.5 in total millions, as Mato asking.
That's completely insane.
Yeah,
11.5.
it was like it was like
I honestly can't recall even Roland cashing that much.
it was like one sponsor 3.5 millions, another 3 millions, another 2.8, and another 2.5, and another 2.4 or something. So, and what's more, duration was over 30 races for every sponsor. It was like 37,
40 races.
about more than 30, 39, 38, 35 durations. That was crazy. Maybe it was
That's
tweaked.
insane.
Maybe it was tweaked later. I don't know. After my after I quit, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was tweaked somewhere later.
Yes, I don't think it is possible to get 39. I have seen some contracts over 30 races, but not that many. It's not like all the sponsors you negotiate can get you 30 something races contracts. So
I
yes,
can show. I
it
can
has
show
been balanced.
you. I can show you just a second. I
If you want
can.
to share, if you want to share your screen, you can share a tab, and I
Yeah.
can replace the race screens with what you show us.
Just a second. I will check. I will check.
While you check, I want to remind everyone that you can join the streaming. I know it is very interesting to listen to Max because he's a very experienced player and he was here at the genesis of the game. But still, you can ask your questions yourselves. And of course, we want to mix this with fresh players and different perspectives. So if you want to join, check down below the link. It's posted at the GPRO forum too. You can, of course, join, and I will add you for you to be here on screen and ask your questions. I'll post this at the okay. There it is. I need to check my emails because I have an incoming email and I want to see if there are questions for Max in it. Oh, I have a suggestion for the next feature. There's Peter Candle that wants me to invite Alex Holland for next feature, but he speaks a lot. Are you sure you want Alex in a monologue here? Maybe. Oh, Joaquin says that audio is great. So I think that the problems are no longer on. Max, we have a comment saying that the audio is fine.
Sorry, what?
No, there's a comment from a player saying that Joaquin saying that the audio is great. So
Okay,
don't worry about the the microphone. Everything is getting to the other side.
I'm just searching through my old data from early seasons to show you.
Do you have it all saved?
Yes, I have saved all pages for all races for everything for all seasons I participated in.
That's discipline, people.
Yeah.
You have a question. Lorenzo Di Buono asks what do you think about the promo sponsor?
It's a nice idea, but sometimes I'm really surprised to see that you get a really low sponsors for example, 200 shitty. Yeah, I wanted to say. For example,
that's acceptable for the streaming. Don't worry, you can say shit.
You promote, and you have occupied some important valuable spot with some shitty sponsor for, I don't know, 55 races contract for 100K. So it's like
that doesn't sound like a very good deal.
Yeah, if you accept him, he would occupy a valuable spot. And what you should do if you just ignore and don't accept, it would stay and keep valuable.
Forever, because the promotion sponsors cannot be rejected.
Yes.
Not for now. Maybe that's a change that can be introduced. But I think that it isn't. I think it was aimed to stimulate the players that were avoiding promotions, going negative to promote. You know, it was like an incentive to avoid that situation, and I think it failed the purpose. Players still mind their own game, and if they don't feel like promoting, they don't. If they need to use a negative balance to relegate, they do, and they don't get any sort of punishment. There's not a rule like the super rookie rule, the one we call super rookie rule, that punishes that kind of behavior. So last season there was a pro group that had all the top 3 players going negative, so the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th promoted to master, and it didn't feel very fair. You know, we all know that there's a risk that a rival goes negative, but all the 3 in the promotion spots at the same time, it's an unlikely scenario, and it did happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think there's a way around that? What kind of solution do you think would be interesting to try to avoid that kind of situation from happening?
Maybe if a promotion sponsor, if you could pick one of 3 options, maybe it would be good. For example, if you would be offered one cheap sponsor for many races, for example, then average money for average races and high amount of money for small amount of races. So people would decide what would suit better their plans. If they need some big money for a short amount of races, they could just select it and to not occupy the slot for a really long time.
Yes, but
Maybe that would be solution.
that's maybe it is rather for preparation for the next division or the next league. But I mean, the situation that we had where all people in the promotion slot decided not to promote and used negative balance to relegate to amateur instead of promoting to master. The promotion sponsor was not enough incentive for them. Do you think that giving them a better sponsor might dissuade them from relegating?
Not sure. I didn't think about that. I think just if the promo sponsor would be really good, then people would be inclined to either to keep it for future seasons or just to use it right away, and it would be helpful. You just don't need to be a shitty sponsor for lots of races, so it would be really not useful.
100k, 50 races.
Yeah. Look, I can share you some information about my sponsorship. Actually, I had 11.5 from four sponsors, not
Four
from five.
sponsors?
Yeah.
Dear Lord, that's even worse. Come on, show it, babe. You use
Just a second.
the screen share option.
Just a second.
Talking about unfair advantages. That's insane. It would kill the game right now. If something like that happened, it would kill the game.
Okay. This is
Oh, you saved the HTMLs. File.
yeah, it's saved without the pictures.
Yes, I have my first rookie races saved this way too.
But you can see it's season 8, race 15. So I have 3.2, 3.6, 2.7, and 2
No,
million.
that's
So
absolutely insane.
it's like 6, 10. It's like 11.5 in total. And you see, it was like for 39 races, I think, on side pods.
Yes, 28, 38, 8, and 3. Well, there are, of course, a couple of contracts that were running out, but you already had a negotiation at 22.8. How long could it take you to sign that 7 races from that point?
It took about 7 or 8 races to get a sponsor, because if you
by the point you lost Blue Arc, you could already have a Ray Pan on board.
Of course, yeah, that's right.
That's terribly unfair.
Okay.
No, that would kill the game in the current state. That would just expel the managers, and if you had a death flip for a couple of randoms, imagine if you had to compete with people cashing 11.5 million on a race of sponsors. That's crazy. Well, it's very interesting that you kept all your data from season 8.
I felt like it's the most useful thing I could do in this game, just to save everything, because there would not be any easier way to acquire anything. But now, if I want to just find out anything I need, I can just load the page and to see anything I want. Sponsor progress, telemetry, driver data, and so on.
Well, there's also the point that the race analysis page has had a few updates in the late years. There wasn't much that I need a few years ago. I recall. Now you even have, I don't know, quality risk, energy, the risk, that quality risk took the, the energy used for the quality. I mean, and a few more small details that are nice, very nice to have stored, and we didn't have in the previous versions of the race analysis. So we thank the admins for that.
Okay, we have another question. I think Mike
Oh,
Harrison
okay.
asked regarding the tire situation, what would be my fix to the current pre-season choice to fix it
There it
without.
is.
I'm not quite understanding what
I think
he
that
meant.
he might be referring to the undisclosed tires that we have at Elite, opposed to the tire choice at Pro and Master that are clearly seen by everyone. So you might have a bias and have an easy way to pick a tire that is maybe the one that the mass is picking, or maybe the opposite of what the mass is picking, having all the selections visible.
Personally, for me, I think it would be interesting to keep tires hidden in master as well.
In
I'm
master
not,
too.
yeah, I'm not sure if if it would be a bad idea, but we at least we could try. Uh,
You will want to experiment.
yeah, because mainly because I noticed that in master there are also many people who are waiting until the late hours before deadline to select the tires, and they are just waiting to see what other picked and then decide about their tires. Maybe it would be a good idea because the competitive level in master is also very high. Maybe it would be a good idea to hide the tires as well. Tire selection, per-season tire selection.
What about Pro?
Maybe in pro, mm, it's not as important as in master and
I
elite.
think it would be a little harsh on the recently promoted from AMA players. In master, maybe I'm not very convinced, but I say maybe. But
Hmm.
on pro, you have if you have just promoted from amateur and you have no previous experience on the higher leagues, of course, you might find the whole tier too challenging, or you need to process too many things during your first season. If you cannot take advantage of a late tire choice during your first season, and you have just come from having mandatory PPs the
Hmm.
few seasons before, it might be a little harsh. I don't
Mike
know
Mike
what.
develops on his question. He says, given that we can't predict the season weather,
Oh,
so
your favorite topic tonight: the season weather and the tires.
mm, I don't know. I don't know what's the way. What is the way to fix the current system? Maybe uh, it would be a good idea just to diminish the effect of the temperature on tire performance. So picking the wrong tire would not penalize your season a lot. So it would be more close between between different tire brands. maybe.
What would be the stimulus to have so many brands and to have so different prices if you get the peak temperature more even? Is my question.
I'm reading Mike's question.
Yes.
I mean, is it more equal to have different compounds standard rather than such randomness? No, of course, going back to the single tire manufacturer and only have different compounds. No, I think it's good to have different manufacturers because it adds some variety to the game. But as I already told, I think maybe we should make different tires to be closer to each other in any given weather conditions, to not have such a big difference when you, for example, in one race on Continentals, you are in 35th position, and the next race, when it's really hot, you win the race. So for me, it's like a really big difference in performance.
Let me disagree, because you can be 35th with one race and you can win the race as long as you have all your shit together. If you don't have the right match, if you haven't invested in the car parts and you don't have some sort of backup to that, it's not like you can win a race from thin air. At least not at Master, for example. You do need the planning. You do need the match. You do need the driver, of course, and you need the energy. You need lots of more things than just having the right tire.
Of course, but considering you have the same, everything else is the same. If it's really cold and you just qualify 35th, and you have no other options to go faster if your tires do not suit. I mean, it's mostly about Continental and Hancock's, of course, because they are biased to the extreme temperatures and
yes, what you usually call the one big push tire.
yes, for those tires who are in the middle range of the peak temperature, it's not the case. But still, for me, it's really too big influence of temperature and the weather for the tires' performance. That's my opinion.
Okay. Check what Mike shot back. Can you read the message? He said that if that isn't saying that the richest should be affording the highest, the most expensive one. I think that if you have something in your hands to do that puts you in a more competitive place, why not?
Yeah. Maybe there should be the opportunity to pick the best possible tire if you can afford it. Yeah, why not?
And make the season harder for your rivals. Well, let me tell you that Master 4, those many guys picking barriers are making things really hard for everyone else. I think it's a valid strategy.
Yeah.
Or not.
So if you don't mind, maybe we'll wrap it up now. For now.
Okay. Yes. Well, there was an attempt of someone joining, but we didn't get much success with invitations to join. We had a very nice audience tonight. Thank you for being there. But we would like to see a few more people joining and asking questions and interacting with the guests and with the host. Any last minute questions you want to ask people? This is one of the last chances.
I want just to thank you for organizing such a good stream, and also I'm really thankful for all people who joined to watch it. For me, it's also one of the first experience in such public streaming conversations. I hope you just not you're not disappointed in what you heard. Maybe I'm just sounded like a bit tired because it's 1
It's
a.m.
really
for
late
me.
for you.
Yeah,
It's really late, and you might face a divorce after 6. So
yeah.
thank you for being there, Max.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Flo.
All right, people, see you next streaming. Good night.